And Uganda's investment space is still open, by the way, if you're to look at it and focus more on it. And Zabu platform gives you that opportunity and that chance to invest in those bonds that are available. The USSD code for the MTN subscribers is *292#. These markets open at 8:15 a.m. and close at 3:15 p.m. So you can choose any bond that you wish to have. If you're told you do not have a registered account, you can register with your national identification number, that is the NIN, and then go get into that investment space. Zabu says, my money, my future, and it is powered by Altex East Africa. In this day and age, you save for investment, and so Zabu gives you that opportunity. Now here we head into our topic of discussion this morning. Now at this moment in time, with 25 minutes to go to the top of the hour, we are heading to a discussion dealing with the journey of the small and medium-sized enterprises in the country. In 1962, Uganda got her independence, and on Sunday, 9th October 2022, Uganda will be marking 60 years of self-rule. The journey so far has not been so well for most of the sectors. However, there are those that have achieved bigger, and there are those that are still achieving, and those that are still struggling. But this time around, we focus and take insightful conversations to deal with the sector of the small and medium-sized enterprises. And joining me this morning to discuss more about the journey of the SMEs and those in the sector since independence, I do have David Busura Javira, who is the Finance and Administration from UZIA, that is the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning as well.
All right. How is UZIA, and how is everyone there?
Of course, everyone is happy.
Okay.
Just as you see me.
Okay.
And everybody is doing well.
All right. And speaking of the fact that people at UZIA are representing a big platform, or the platform that at least has a voice for the small and medium-sized enterprises, I would choose to ask, since when did the organization start up in the country?
Okay. The Uganda Small Scale Industries Association, that is in short called UZIA,
yes,
started about 1979, but it was formally registered in 1980.
Okay.
So it is about 40 something years.
Okay.
So it was predominantly started to boost, after realizing the gap, that there was a gap to boost the industrialization of Uganda. Mm-hmm. So our main focus and the vision was to promote the industrialization of the country. Mm-hmm. And that was to be done, probably it is a strategic move to see that the country is industrialized, but through small-scale industries. Mm. Of course, there must be a linkage between the small and the big, and also coming to the big, it is a process, a growth process. Mm. So the major objective of the organization is to build the capacity of the small and micro, small, and medium industries into large and big industries. Of course, it is a long journey, and being a business association, we are dealing with the business people, but it has so many challenges. So along the way, of course, if there were no challenges, then we wouldn't have got any job. But we are not saying that we depend on the challenges of the community. Sure. But we are here to solve the challenges in order to industrialize the country. Okay. And our major objective, we see that across the board, there is no country that has developed without the element of industrialization. So that is why we took on that mantle to see that we spearhead the industrialization of the country.
Okay.
So in short, that is it.
So your main focus is seeing these small enterprises, the medium as well, growing into bigger industries, or tapping into the bigger spaces.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, now let's look at the journey of Uganda's entrepreneurs, or the journey of the MSMEs in the country. At the time of 1962, you've mentioned that UZEA came in place in 1979. If I'm to have my math right, it would be around 43 years since UZEA was reinstated in the country.
Right.
And then officially registered in 1980. Then that means it would be officially 42.
Exactly.
Now, looking back, 1979, now let's get back to 1962. How was the sector, if you're to take us through that, how was it regulated? Did we have any association or a ministry under which this sector was falling?
Okay. Predominantly, beginning from the, the economy, we could say, starts from 1962.
All right.
That is the Ugandan, the Ugandan managed economy. But of course, there is the other, the colonial system that we had, which was also part of Uganda. So when we talk about business in Uganda, it has been evolving over time. Initially, business was revolving about major about agriculture. And we had people dealing with either cotton, coffee, or maybe tobacco. Those were major products. And then a few elements as mining came in, then that also took on some space.
Okay.
So businesses were majorly surrounded and even linked to the sectors. So you could find that those were the business sectors where there is either trading in coffee or farming in coffee, or maybe processing, of course, semi-processing in coffee, in coffee or any other material that is around the area. So that is, even the infrastructure developments were also centered towards that. And major that is where we see the railway lines connecting to Kilembe and then to maybe Jinja, where basically the major element was transporting copper from Kasese to Jinja. But over time, businesses have evolved. Of course, with the improvement in technology, with the improvement in exposure, so businesses in Uganda have developed. So when we look at the journey of MSA, small and medium enterprises, initially, I think before made either bad or good news by exposing the Asians, businesses were majorly owned by Asians, especially in the town centers.
Oh, okay.
So somehow that we could say it was because of, mainly because of our cultural settings, that predominantly we are not business people, we are farmers and agriculturists.
Very true.
So when the Asians came in, then they brought in that element of business. So over time, businesses have developed and Ugandans have taken on the interest. Of course, because we usually have that that predominance of the cultural backgrounds. So it may not have taken on an abrupt change. And I think that is why in the change of regimes, we have people coming up and people going down. Mainly partly because of the cultural changes, but also because of the political environment around. So what we can say is, as business grow, then there is also an involvement in the government policies, in the when it comes to regulations. So initially, the business, we are not so organized into associations, but as time came in, people started realizing the need to associate. And there are there are several organizations that are business oriented, but I think the oldest in Uganda is Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Yes, that was formed. I don't remember the year, but at least some time back, just to coordinate the business activities. But of course, as you realize, other several organizations have come in simply to cover certain gaps that could be within the system.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And well, when you look back, by the way, to Uganda's journey, 1971 was when President Idi Amin Dada overthrew President Milton Obote I. Then 1972, there came the expulsion of the Indian traders out of Ugandan businesses. And in there, during that particular regime of Amin, Uganda registered some cases of inflation. It was a time when most of these businesses, the Indian-owned businesses, started collapsing because most of the Ugandans had very few ideas on how to manage, run, and establish a business. So you could clearly see that very few would maintain the businesses that they did not start up. Most of them were basically employees that were actually being hired by the Indian businessmen and women. Well, we're still looking at the journey of Uganda's small and medium-sized enterprises since 1962 or since independence, and we've slowly moved in to see how things have been. Now, in 1979, UZIA comes in place, 1980. Now, that means associations are coming up slowly by slowly, because if associations keep on coming in such situations of bringing together the sector, what then were some of the aims at the time of starting up such associations?
Yes, of course, just as I told you in the beginning, that there are various gaps that may either not be covered by one association, because, for example, UZIA was started predominantly for industrialization, but then there could be a gap. I mean, with industrialization, you also need other players who may not directly be industrialists, but they also have to boost the trade. So you could find in such a way that because of the realization of certain gaps within the system and the need to boost the business, because in any case, as we go on in the we call it in the modern world, you cannot survive without business. Business is one key element in the economy. Actually, it is business that drives the economy, because without business you cannot pay taxes.
True.
So there are various players that come on because of certain gaps. So various players, maybe like maybe PSFU, even other players, other organizations that have come on board, just to try and coordinate and to try and advocate for the smoothest way of doing business in Uganda. So I would say that actually even the government has also evolved so much. Now these days we hear about certain policies that are coming up, like Bubu. Okay, this is as a realization of that we need to start focusing on the local content, local business, to boost our business. So what we could say is the evolvement of business has also brought in the realization of other key players, so that to streamline the business environment in Uganda, and in a way that has helped MSMEs. To this day, at least, we could say that probably 90% of the business sector in Uganda is occupied by SMEs. So which means that the SMEs play a key role in the maintenance of the economy. Yes.
All right. And now let's look at some of these challenges. I believe at the time of 1980, Uganda was still in transition. During that time, we were looking at wars ongoing. I believe that is the same time when the NRA was still taking center stage in liberating the country. But focusing on the challenges that the sector has been facing since that time, if we were to trace back maybe since 1962, 63, and bringing it to 2020.
Yes. Now, the major challenge, let me tell you, is that, yes, all the other challenges may have maybe existing, the political environment, the wars and what, but I think the major challenge since then is our the culture setup that affected our mindset in the way of doing business. Let me tell you, I mean, I don't say that the Indians are the best business people, but at least I admire their setup. That when the father is doing business, he does it alongside the son. And then at a certain stage, the father is now handing over to the son, of course with his or her mentorship. Now, our major challenge first is, first of all, the mindset. By the mere fact that our setup was in the agriculture and the kind of subsistence farming, so the element of business has taken time to come into the minds. Now, remember, the people supposed to create a better business environment, who are the kind of the leaders, the politicians, they're also coming from the same community that was predominantly agriculture. So still, the development of the mindset of our leaders also has a way it affects the environment, the business environment in which we operate in. So basically that is the major, the major element. But however, we also have some other challenges. For example, kind of the colonial setup, it was, we are not groomed in such a way that we are supposed to be employers.
True.
We are groomed in such a way that we are supposed to be employees.
Because of the nature of society. Because
of the nature of the society, maybe. And even the kind of education we are given
was to at least have a master that we subdue.
To be good employees, to be effective employees, not effective employers. So part of the system, part of the challenge is systematic.
Okay.
And it is taking us, and I think it is taking us too long
to change.
Because you've told me that 60 years, we are now beginning the curriculum to kind of to change the status quo,
So that is more practical than...
Yes, after 60 years.
Okay.
Then I think we still have that element of subsistence in us that doesn't realize. Because let me tell you, in the current environment of business, you are supposed to be aptitude, you are supposed to be so fast in thinking, to realize immediately that you see now the environment requires this and doesn't require that. But now if it takes us another 60 years to realize that now we must change, that means it's taking us another 60 years to realize that now, after getting that curriculum, you now start to work with ICT. Because that is where let me tell you, there are countries that we are the same status quo.
At the time of independence. And they are far away from us.
Malaysia, countries like Singapore, countries like Dubai, states like Dubai.
Yes.
But now, we cannot be compared to the same. That means we have a systematic problem.
That we've not yet addressed.
That we have not yet addressed. And part of the problem is, how do we change, how do we create an environment that supports our businesses, Up to now, when you realize about 70 or 80% of the things we use are still imported. Now, we may not find, importing may not have been bad. If that is the strategy, we must follow. Because there are countries that import, especially raw materials, but then sell finished goods. Countries like Japan don't have so many raw materials.
Raw materials like we do.
But they are the main exporters of locomotives. So what is it that prohibits us to perform like the Japanese?
Okay.
Countries like China, they have also evolved so much, So I think there is, when we talk about the challenges, all the challenges evolve from our kind of thinking and probably the culture setup, that we have failed to realize that without business we cannot survive. Yet the world is not waiting. Other parts of the world are not waiting for us.
They've already moved fast.
They already moved fast,
Yes.
As we are thinking about still developing our skills, others are thinking about using new kind of technology for production. So I think it is the area we realize that we must we must change as fast as yesterday. Then that is when we can realize the goal of being an industrial country, and of course going for the quality middle income status, improving our incomes and our livelihoods.
And all right, there, from the challenges, after the break, we shall be looking at the achievements of the sector since 1962 and see how far have from the micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, how far have they come? Where are the achievements? What are those key things that we can look at and say, yes, regardless of the fact that we are still having a journey to go, but these are things that we can be proud of as Uganda and of course as the stakeholders in these various sectors. It is still the SMB topic of discussion, and we are looking at Uganda at 60, but mainly focusing on the small and medium-sized enterprises since 1962. Stick around, I'll be right back with more from this same conversation after the break.
Smart 24, driving business. Vimba ne MTN kabode super esimu ya sereza nga bw'ogisasulira mpola mpola kuba amasimu kyusa zi status za WhatsApp laba bu video ku YouTube oba kozesa Google okumanya buli ekiri wansi w'enjuba ku GB 2 ze tukuweza buli mwezi okumala emyezi 7 sasulako emitwalo 99 zokka ezisigadde osasula mpola mpola. Kati okola ki leero? Genda ku dduuka lya MTN erikuli okumpi weefunire MTN kabode super mangu.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family, be a leader, be magic.
A World Cup in the desert, the first one in the Middle East, the first to be held at the end of the year. That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals. Out of this world celebration. 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Go TV. Love it.